Talk 18, The Noble Truth of Serving. A poor man, angered by hunger and sickness in the streets below a great tower, he decided to climb it and ask the rich for help. A wise man warned him, none return unchanged. A guardian said, dress like them, or they won't listen. He agreed. Another said, harden your heart, or you won't survive this climb. He agreed. A third said, stop seeing everything as unfair. It's much more complicated. He agreed. At the top, he spoke calmly, but he no longer felt the suffering. I forget why I came up here, but I'm very hungry, he said, and stayed to feast. Suffering invites deeper questions. What's its cause? Is it personal failure, social structure, or a universal human condition? In work and life, we ask whether achievement ends suffering or merely rearranges it, whether control is possible, and what genuine freedom actually means. In the Philippines, often a family cannot afford hospital bills. I would often discuss their problem with the welfare department of the hospital, and they were expected to repay the bill over time. But they had to write and sign something called a promissory note, where their property was held as collateral until the debt was repaid. A promissory note. One of the families told me they'd given the hospital a I promise sorry note, not a promissory note. Suffering is an inevitable part of the human condition, often acting as a catalyst for growth, compassion, and resilience. It is frequently distinguished from physical pain by the mental resistance or clinging and attachment that causes deeper, optional distress. The handful of salt story. A man was angry about life's unfairness. Buddha asked him to put salt in a cup of water and drink it. Nyah, too salty. Then Buddha asked him to put the same amount of salt into a large lake and drink. Not salty. The lesson, expand your mind, the lake, so life's troubles, the salt, don't overpower you. Siddhartha, before becoming Buddha, saw an old man, a sick man, and a dead body, realizing that suffering, salt, is inevitable for everyone, which drove him to seek liberation of expanding his mind. There are some tactics to help tackle life's distresses. When facing suffering, begin with a daily reflection practice. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes to ask, what caused stress today? What was in my control? what was not in my control. Next, break overwhelming problems into small, intentional steps. Focus on one clear action rather than the whole burden. Finally, use mindful breathing throughout the day. Slow, steady breaths. Anchor the body. Calm reactivity. And create space between pain and response, allowing wiser choices to emerge gradually. Even suffering. Notice small supports. Breath, kindness, shelter, learning, steady work. Gratitude steadies the heart without denying pain, reminding that goodness coexists alongside difficulty. Pause, observe suffering directly. Notice thoughts, tension, reactions, urges to escape. Awareness softens struggle, creates space for wiser, kinder response. Many people find it all too dark and depressing. So I've been considering reinstating the Bikini Order of Nuns. They teach the noble truths of surfing, the cause of surfing, cessation of surfing, and the path to the beach. Once a farmer's donkey fell into a deep well. The farmer tried to rescue him, but the donkey was too heavy and the well too deep. Deciding the donkey was old and the well needed filling anyway, he asked neighbours to shovel dirt into it. The donkey brayed in despair, then grew quiet. With each shovel of dirt thrown down, he shook it off and stepped up a little bit more. Load after load fell. Step by step, he rose, until at last, he climbed out and trotted away. Suffering can be reimagined as raw material. Instead of resisting it, I asked, what is shaping, revealing, or inviting me to create differently? Suffering becomes a doorway on the spiritual path. It exposes attachments, humbles ambition, and redirects purpose towards compassion, service, and deeper inner freedom. To make it all more positive, here are some freshly revised precepts. 1, I undertake the precept to refrain from killing conversation, like asking if you are vegetarian, things like that. 2, I undertake the precept to refrain from stealing the limelight and all the attention. 3, I undertake the precept to not abuse sense pleasure, like putting chili sauce and anchovies on pizzas, and then candies such as Turkish Delight with talcum powder out. 4thly, I undertake the precept to refrain from smug speech, such as incomprehensible ancient languages that only I know. And 5thly, I undertake the precept to refrain from intoxicating self-righteousness and moralizing people who drink 3-in-1 coffee. I'll have them translated into Pali so you can all chant those later on. I'm just joking. Lighting that up. You'll never see them again. The mechanism of avoidable suffering is that we ourselves drive it with interpretation and feed it with attention and unmindfulness. These sufferings are unnecessary. Changes in mind can deeply affect our own experience. Even a very challenging or so-called negative event. The wealthy father's son left home and wandered for years in poverty, convinced he was worthless. The father searched tirelessly and eventually found him begging in a distant city. Not knowing the palace nearby belonged to his own father. When guards approached, the frightened son fled. So the father sent servants dressed very plainly to offer him humble work cleaning latrines, toilets. Feeling the job suited his low self-worth, the son accepted. The father, disguised, worked beside him and gradually encouraged and promoted him. On his deathbed, he revealed the truth and left him the entire estate. When suffering arises, pause and name it gently. This is pain. Notice where it sits in the body. Breathe steadily into that area without trying to fix it. Reflect on impermanence. This feeling is changing. Ask what is being clung to right now. Loosen the grip slightly. Practice compassion by remembering others experience similar struggles. Take one wholesome action, a kind word, a helpful task, a moment of generosity. Return daily to ethical living, meditation, and wise reflection to steadily reduce the routine of suffering, the roots of suffering. Impermanence is not the cause of our suffering, but we cannot get happiness from hollow responses. The truth of suffering is not a doomsday prediction, an inevitable destiny. It alerts us to the fact that we are not being aware of what we really are. So, a bit about me. I was born in Luton, England. Luton, or as some airlines call it, London, if you were flown in there, 30 miles away. It was only recently that I found out the truth that Luton is not an easy place, not nice at all. I recently discovered that, in fact, I am Luton intolerant. Since the Bodhisattva studied under a Brahmin who knew a spell that made jewels rain down from the sky, he was captured by bandits. The teacher was warned, don't use it. Impatient, he cast the spell anyway. Treasure fell from the sky. Greed followed. Rival thieves slaughtered one another over the riches. At last, only 2 remained. One killed the other one, and then celebrated, died from poisoned porridge. When the Bodhisattva returned, he found 2 corpses and treasure scattered all around. He reflected that, selfish gain brings ruin, and he used the wealth for generosity instead. When you think about destiny or fate, do you feel passive or responsible? Where might belief in it was meant to be excuse being greedy or harmful choices. Notice how craving shapes outcomes. Does suffering arise from fate or from attachment, intention, and actions? 3 dinosaurs found a magic lamp. They rubbed it, and a dino genie appeared. 3 wishes, 1 each, it said. Okay, first dinosaur, I'll have a big, juicy piece of meat. Instantly, a largest steak you'd ever seen appeared, slop. Wow! The second one, not to be outdone, wished for a shower of meat. Down it rained in slabs. Slop, 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 slop. The third one, determined to outdo them both, shouted, I want a meteor shower. Meteor shower. Whoops. The rest of they say is history. Reflecting on the truths of suffering is not morbid. Rather, it is a way to stop life being lived on autopilot and to live more intentionally, fully in the present. Understanding suffering's mechanism is key to opening your mind and heart. Remove beliefs blocking joy. Sometimes, actually, strange connections are at play. We have to discover our life purpose to unlock them. Working in London as a stagehand, I was offered work at the Millennium Dome, preparing for the year 2000 opening. I was working with a fun person called Jeff Blake. Jeff told me he had a family connection all the way back directly to William Blake, who was his great-great-great-grandfather, or whatever, the mystic, artist, and poet. I really enjoyed his company. Another artist had composed the music for the opening show, one of my heroes called Peter Gabriel. The sound echoed around us working, me and Jeff, for months. In the rehearsals, one day, I looked on the Dome's website. It said that Peter Gabriel had written the music inspired by 2 things. One, the DNA chromosome links of families through generations, through different eras. 2, the poetry and work of William Blake. How weird is that? Every day, take a pause and consider how unpredictable many connections have been for you, those people's lives. Was there a higher connection, a higher truth at play? Every day, note that devas and bodhisattvas are always guiding us, assisting us, listening to us. Every day, take time to listen and connect to your higher purpose. Every day, practice letting go of too much fear-based reasoning, not enough divine intuition. Every day, respect the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, teachers and parents. Reflect, like in Dhammapada Verse 197. Indeed, we live very happily, not hating anyone, among those who hate. Among men who hate, we live without hating anyone. Not striving for sensual pleasures among those who strive for them. We live without striving. A student is on one side of a raging river. There are no bridges. He has no boat. He shouts to the master on the opposite bank, "Master, how do I get to the other side?" The master shouts back, "You are already on the other side." I once was lost in blazing sun among tall, thorny bushes in Sri Lanka. There was one tall, dead tree right in the middle, and I hoped for a view from it. Winding closer, a small animal rushed off. I thought it was a pig. I kept going. Then a large elephant, alarmed, crashed away into the bushes. I reached the tree. Flattened dry glass circled the tree. A baby elephant's resting nest. I had walked straight into the baby elephant and mother's home. Suffering was not only in the jungle, it was probably in my blindness and restless ambition to go exploring too much. Where does suffering truly arise? In changing conditions, or in our insistence they stay the same? With so many losses and uncertainties, what steadies the heart? Perhaps refuge lies in practicing Dhamma honesty and walking with a Sangha that helps us suffer more wisely. I was retelling the elephant nest incident while in Colombo City at a family gathering. When I got to the part about the mother elephant, the rather large lady of the house had begun to stand up, looking somewhat upset. I'd continued until I got to the bit, and there I was in the living space of the mother elephant, and with a huff and a trumpet, the lady stomped into the middle of the room, believing I was actually talking about her. Her husband had to calm her down and reassure her that it wasn't about her. What is happening is this: among nesting, protective beings, we intrude. We seek freedom. The pull between solitary exploration of the unknown and the comfort of the known creates tension. We must exist somewhere, yet existence strains against itself, seeking light, coolness, and safety in a hot, thorny wilderness. At that same location in Sri Lanka, the kuti I stayed in was a 20-minute walk through hot sand tracks to the ocean. Pathways wove through bushes and trees, and it was easy to get lost. To help, I took yellow electrical tape and put markers on key branches, there and back. One day, the markers were all gone. At the ocean, there was a pile of broken branches with yellow tape all over. One of the elephants hadn't liked my idea at all to walk the tracks. The sun was fiercely hot. I covered my head with my folded robe for shade, seeing only the track just right in front of me at my feet. Step, step, step. I nearly stepped on a wild elephant sleeping in the path. There's something very humbling about realizing 5 tons of wilderness doesn't recognize your little improvements. Try to Pause daily for 5 quiet minutes. Notice where you are marking paths, adding tape to branches, expecting the wilderness to cooperate. Walk gently. Look ahead, but not so far you forget the ground beneath you. Take 3 slow breaths before acting. Ask, is this needed, or am I forcing change? When it's confusing, don't redesign the forest. Take 1 careful step along the track in front of you. Respect the tuskers and the elders. Others have walked here for generations. Suffering grows in haste and assumption. It softens in awareness, patience, and steady, deliberate steps. How often do we wander like the lost son, convinced we are small, unaware of what already surrounds us? How often do we mark our paths, assuming the ground is empty and ours to claim? Perhaps suffering begins in not seeing where we truly stand. As a teenager, I sneaked into tunnels beneath the school. Deep below was a room with a naughty smoking table and an old black and white photo on it. The tradition of boys was to sign the back of the photo. I looked closer at the photo. 1957, a school play. Wait a minute. There, in the back row of the photo, was my dad. He'd even caught me smoking in the tunnels under the school. There you go. It was a true story. Suffering is like a tightening knot. You can pull harder and make it worse. Or you can ignore it and let it happen. Or we can loosen it slowly, strand by strand. Suffering is like a fire. We can feed it, we can fear it, or we can understand what gives it fuel. Suffering is like carrying a heavy bowl of water. The tighter we grip, the more it spills. The steadier the hands, the calmer the surface. Suffering is like quicksand. Stillness steadies, struggling makes you sink. Gentle, steady movements bring release. Of course, as monks, we get showered with food. There is a great danger of politely agreeing to everything. Most of my beloved and kind-hearted Theravada teachers were very round and overweight. That's how they got their name that I gave them, the Tubbies. Suffering is like being caught in a current. The more we thrash, the more exhausted we become. The more we fight the water, the stronger it feels. Grip too tightly, and balance is lost. Panic feeds the force against us. But when we stop struggling and float, we move with understanding. The current loses its power. What seemed overpowering was intensified by resistance. How does it work? Notice how our behavior has been affecting the suffering. There are patterns behind it. It's one of the ways suffering increases suffering. Then it maintains itself. By bringing up fueling thoughts and ideas to support it. A furnace with shovels and stacks. Look closely. It is going round in circles. We can face suffering, one suffering at a time. We like to ignore suffering's existence. It is coming soon. The more we wake up and accept suffering's truth, less escape, less avoiding, the better. Get real. By accepting reality, we can learn to solve problems. By avoiding problems, by giving up, we only get weak and overcome by events when they arrive. We can master the ocean of saṃsāra by experience through mindfully learning to be in life joyfully. Remember this noble truth. Yes, all life has avoidable suffering, but that the art of life is surfing, the noble truth of surfing. Let go, let it be, then don't attach to it. Suffering comes in waves. We like to ignore suffering's existence. It is coming soon. The more we wake up and accept suffering's truth, less escape and less avoiding, the better. By confronting the waves of reality, we can learn to ride them. By scrambling sideways, we crash. By falling asleep on the beach, we only get weak and tumbled by events when they roll in endlessly. Because things change, growth is possible. Because people shift, relationships stay alive. Because nothing fully satisfies, we are freed from endless chasing. Suffering grows from clinging to control and permanence. When we expect movement instead of stability, life becomes workable, not threatening. So I'd like to end this talk with wishing you well. My gratitude and appreciation for your kind attention. May many of you attain the peace of Nibbana and be free from all avoidable suffering and harm. May you all be peaceful, happy, safe, and well. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.